Hello, this is Salvatore Vinciguerra. Welcome to this video on the Hillsborough River State Park in Thonotosassa, Florida. The Hillsborough River State Park is just minutes from downtown Tampa, and this diverse park offers a wide variety of nature viewing, which includes Class II river rapids, camping, historic structures, and very scenic landscapes. The Hillsborough River State Park provides many opportunities for outdoor recreation, which includes fishing, hiking, biking trails, picnicking under pavilions built in the 1930s, and there's even a swimming pool in this park. This is the Hillsborough River, and these are the Class II rapids right here. They do not rent canoes or kayaks, but I highly suggest that you bring your own so that way you can experience this part of the park, which for some is a great adventure from the river itself. One of the most historical parts of this state park is the Fort Foster State Historical Site. It's located on the east side of US 301 from the park, and it is a reproduction of a fort originally built here in December 1836 by Colonel William S. Foster and his 430 men. During the Second Seminole War, the purpose of Fort Foster was to defend the bridge crossing at Hillsborough River and act as a resupply point for soldiers in the field. If you're visiting the Hillsborough State Park just for Fort Foster, it's possible just to see Fort Foster all by itself, and yes, it is only open during certain parts of the week, so check the calendar. There's also living history demonstrations of life at Fort Foster, and there are different celebrations and reenactments that they have in January, and also a candlelight experience during December. Much of the park is a live oak hammock due to its proximity to the river. Certain sections are swampy, but much of the forest surrounding the river is elevated, so floods are not regular. Land near the entrance of the park consists of pine trees and saw palmettos, and the park is cleaved into two halves by a swift-flowing section of the Hillsborough River. The river was named in the late 1700s for Wills Hills, the British Colonel Secretary of Lord Earl of Hillsborough. In Florida state parks, you will see many bridges and structures throughout their parks, and these were built originally in the 1930s during the Great Depression by the Civilian Conservation Corps. They established the area surrounding the river rapids as a public park. This is one of the many wetlands trails that they have here at the park that goes through multiple ecosystems, a typical feature found in Florida. The hiking trails at the Hillsborough State Park have you walking under towering cypress domes, through low-lying wetlands and past stretching fields of mesic flatwoods. The variation in topography and soil types makes this all possible. Having all these ecosystems so close together provides a perfect habitat for a variety of flora and fauna. Predators such as hawks and bobcats peruse the area looking for their next meal. Enthusiastic bird watchers will be delighted at the vast array of birds that can be seen flying about. Most notably, there are dozens of rare plants that dot the landscape. One notable rare plant is the blazing star flower, but maybe because I'm here in January and it's quite cold and it's not spring, but if you come here in the spring or the summer, you may find that purple plant. The pink and purple petals love the sun and are a favorite of the monarch butterflies and hummingbirds. This delicate, high-reaching plant blooms from the top down, unlike other flowers that tend to bloom from the bottom up. Be on the lookout as I walk through these paths of their current restoration efforts to improve and protect the precious and fragile ecosystems along these trails. You will find areas of prescribed burns, sections of invasive species treatments, and many native plantings. Here's an example of what it looks like to walk over one of these suspension bridges at the park on the hiking trails, and notice how the branches of some of these trees are very low when you walk across the bridge. These suspension bridges are found not only here in the Hillsborough State Park, but they can also be found at the Oleno State Park and several other state parks in Florida. As you're walking through these various hiking trails, don't forget to look around. Make sure that you're looking up and looking down, as you're going to find some extraordinary things, especially on the live oak trees that they have on these trails. And you're going to find aerial gardens. Plants that grow on trees and other objects are called epiphytes. Some mosses, ferns, and bromeliads are common epiphytes. These plants, often called air plants, are not really nourished by the air. Instead, they obtain nutrients from organic matter such as windblown dust or fallen leaves that accumulate around their roots. This is the Baynard Nature Trail. It's about 1.1 miles as you hike through it. I didn't do all of it this particular day. Someone told me that there's an alligator out here, so that's really where I'm headed to go see this alligator. But it is a typical hiking trail that you would see in Florida, with the landscape and the various plantings that you would have on either side of it. What is more unique about maybe this one than some other ones that you would see is that definitely there is the Hillsborough River, which kind of goes alongside of part of this trail. And yes, there's primitive camping out here, and there's the Seminole Trail, which is a little bit longer, about 3 miles or so, which takes you through the same type of hammock, maybe a little bit different. And yes, some of this trail that I'm taking you on varies into that Seminole Trail. And here is the American alligator that I found on the trail, and yes, it's just a few feet away from me, just sitting there basking in the sun. Adult American alligators measure anywhere from 11 to 15 feet in length and can weigh up to about 1,000 pounds. Females are smaller, measuring from 8 to about 10 feet in length. The American alligator inhabits warm, temperate, and tropical freshwater wetlands such as this, which are marshes and cypress swamps, from anywhere from Texas to North Carolina. American alligators are apex predators and consume fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Hatchlings feed mostly on invertebrates. They play an important role as ecosystem engineers in wetland ecosystems throughout the creation of alligator holes, which provide both wet and dry habitats for organisms. Throughout the year, in particular during breeding season, American alligators bellow to declare their territory and locate suitable mates. Male American alligators use infrasound to attract females. Eggs are laid in a nest of vegetation, sticks, leaves, and mud in a sheltered spot in or near the water. The young are born with yellow bands around their bodies and are protected by their mother for up to 1 year. The conservation status of the American alligator is listed as least concern. Historically, hunting had disseminated their population, and the American alligator was listed as an endangered species by the Endangered Species Act of 1973. Subsequent conservation efforts have allowed their numbers to increase, and their species was removed from the endangered status in 1987. The species is the official state reptile of 3 states: Florida, Louisiana, and Mississippi. This is the Rapids Nature Trail, and basically it starts off in many different places which you can get access from either a parking area or picnic area or another nature trail, and they have these suspended bridges that go across it, and then you can walk across different areas, and the 3 different sections are about a half-mile loop which go from either the Hillsborough River section and then back over to more of a flat woods nature type of scenic area. And the most extraordinary part, I think, of this nature trail is the rapids part of this trail. The Hillsborough River is the central natural feature of the park. The expansive river flows from 2 northern sources, the Green Swamp and Crystal Springs. Millions of gallons of water flow through the river each day, eventually making its way to Tampa Bay. As I'm walking down this trail, you're going to notice the different intensity of the water flow increase, and that's because this particular park has Class 2 water rapids, as I mentioned, and it's very unusual to have such in this area. The Hillsborough River is considered a black water river and is one of the very few rivers in Florida to have such a system of rapids. As you can already hear in the video, there are several birds surrounding this area. The red-shouldered hawk, and if you look very carefully in these pictures right here, this is a sandhill crane just sitting off to the side of the river. This bird seems very disguised in this habitat since he's gray, and he's usually found in open prairies, grasslands, and wetlands. Outside of the breeding season, they can often roost in deeper water ponds of lakes where they are safe from predators. These are the flatwood ponds, and they're shallow circular ponds often that dot the pinewood flatwoods. They are natural depressions formed on the sea bottom from wave action. The ponds may also be formed or deepened when acid water dissolves limestone, which lies close to the surface. The size and depth varies with the rainfall areas, and outside are frequently dry, while the deeper centers of the ponds rarely become dry. Varying water depth accounts for the rings of different vegetation that we see around the ponds. Now let's get back to the Rapids Nature Trail. Remember that these rapids are usually found only among mountainous areas and are truly a fascinating and unusual natural feature in this part of Florida, since it's usually just flat. If you look closely among the rapids, you'll see bunches of limestone outcrop jutting out of the water, and these rocks are indicative of the limestone geology that formed millions of years ago in this area. This unique feature provides a home to various plants, invertebrates, and fishes. Because the rocks are porous, their crevices are homes to more plants and animals than other parts of the slow-moving, soft-bottom river. The abundance of food attracts various wading birds, including the great blue herons and great egrets. The rapids are also home to native predatory animals such as American alligators and river otters. Apart from the rapids, people are also drawn to the Hillsborough River by its more peaceful areas, where they can just simply watch the water flowing past them. Bald cypress trees line the banks of the Hillsborough River, where you can escape technology and the hustle and bustle of modern life. Allow yourself to become one with the landscape around you as you take in the majesty of the Hillsborough River. If you like to fish, this is a great park to do such an activity. There are several shaded and sunny areas where you can put your pole in the water and see what you can catch. You can also have a picnic right there on the water and just enjoy the relaxing scenery that you're surrounded by. Now let's talk about the camping area. You know, this particular park is located only 15 to 20 miles away from downtown Tampa and its convention center, and also the Busch Gardens area. A day's drive could get you out to St. Petersburg, even some of the outlet malls in Ellington, or even Orlando with Disney World and all of those other attractions out there. This is an example of what a campsite would look like. This is my campsite, and it only has electric and water. There is a dump station out when you enter the park, but this is all that you would need if you're going to be staying here for a very short period of time. And for me, this was a very quiet alternative than maybe an RV park that they would have closer to the Tampa Bay area, which would be quite noisy as a resort. This is more of the park aspect, a lot quieter and more enjoyable to stay in a state park versus some RV resort. And that's just personal preference. But as you can see, you have plenty of room on either side of your RV, and it's in walking distance to the bathhouse and some of the other amenities here at the state park. The Hillsborough River State Park offers RV and tent camping with electric on most of the sites in this 112 site campground. Each site is equipped with water, a fire ring, and a picnic table. Each loop has restrooms with hot showers and laundry facilities. The campground offers a dump station for your convenience. Pets are welcome but must be confined, leashed up to 6 feet in length, or otherwise under the owner's physical control at all times. The maximum RV length is 50 feet. Hammocks are allowed to be used in certain campsites, but it requires the use of straps to at least 2 inches wide on trees, at least 12 inches in diameter. Please make your reservations in advance for these campsites, as they can pack up quite quickly and are sometimes hard to get because of the different seasons that we have here with some of our snowbirds that come down to Florida to enjoy some of the warm sun fun activities that we have here in the Sunshine State. As I mentioned before, there is a beautiful pool here that's open seasonally, different times of the year, especially when it's warmer here in Florida. They have meeting houses for Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and even family functions if you want to have a family reunion here. One more very interesting place to visit at the Hillsborough State Park is this interpretive center, and it's available from parking lot number 1, and this center displays over 100 artifacts that were found at the Fort Foster Historic Site. Exhibits offer an understanding of both sides of the conflict between the Seminole Nation and the United States military. The center is open daily from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Even though this interpretive center is a little dated, it's still worth your time just to walk in and take a look at some of the artifacts because they're very cool to look at, and it gives you some perspective as to the bloody conflict that took place in this area of Florida. The Second Seminole War took place between 1835 and 1842, and it arose from a long-standing grievances and ill will between Americans and the Indians of Florida. Some problems dated from the First Seminole War between 1817 and 1818, and at that time the government of the United States asserted its right to pursue Indians into Spanish Florida and to punish them for their attacks on plantations and settlements in Alabama and Georgia. A large United States military force commanded by Major General Andrew Jackson invaded Florida in March of 1818 to pacify the area. Jackson's men constructed Fort Gadsden on the Apalachicola River as the base, then destroyed most of the Seminole towns west of the Suwannee River. Jackson also captured and occupied the Spanish forts at Pensacola and St. Mark's, where he had 2 British subjects tried and executed for their activities in Seminole affairs. When Jackson departed Florida for his home in Tennessee on May 30th, the Florida phase of the First Seminole War ended. The United States acquired Florida from Spain in 1821, and the Indians of New Florida Territory became the concern of the federal government. Americans streamed into this new land, and northern Florida soon supported thriving frontier towns and prosperous plantation economy. As the area of American settlement expanded, however, red men and whites clashed more often and more violently over Seminole lands and hunting grounds. Between 1823 and 1833, the United States attempted to solve the growing problems between its citizens and the Seminoles by negotiating 3 treaties. The first created a Central Florida reservation for the Indians. Many Seminoles could not accept the reservation. The second and third treaties called for voluntary removal of all Indians from Florida to Arkansas. Most Seminoles were unwilling to leave. When the various Indian bands were told in 1834 that they must be gone by 1836, they united in opposing the demand. In December of 1835, a war broke out between the Seminoles and the United States. Thus began the bloody and costly conflict known as the Second Seminole War. This is Salvatore Vinciguerra. Thank you for watching this video on the Hillsborough River State Park in Thonotosassa, Florida. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to this channel, and have a great day. Thank you.